and welcome back to 30 days of going inside because we can't go outside. Yesterday was day 7 when I spoke a little bit about regulation and how to encourage the younger people in your lives to self-regulate, and shared a few tools and skills with you there. And today we're going to be looking at Awaken. And we're going to be exploring the subject of mindfulness. And goodness me, there are so many books and fantastic self-help resources and things online explaining this far better than Louise and I would be able to do. So I thought we'd do a whistle-stop tour of what mindfulness means to us and to share with you a couple of things for you to begin to notice over the next few days.
Yeah, and we called it Awaken because there's this lovely, I think it might even be a book by somebody called John Kabat-Zinn called Falling Awake. And essentially that's what we're talking about with mindfulness, is that so often we are sleepwalking through our lives. And in the mindfulness world, this has become known as autopilot. So we're kind of in one place physically, but mentally we're somewhere else. So you may have had that experience of driving from A to B. And you kind of get there and you realise that you've no recollection of the journey. You know you've got to be because you've arrived there, but you can't remember anything about the journey at all. And that's probably because your mind had hooked you and you were mentally somewhere else in that journey. So that's autopilot. And autopilot isn't a bad thing. It can be quite helpful that we can do things automatically without thought. But it can come at a cost, especially if your internal world is quite negative and judgmental. If you're spending all your time in there, then your body is going to be reacting accordingly. So autopilot is the first message we want to get across, and thinking about what tasks do you do on autopilot, and just notice that.
Yeah. And secondly, my favourite definition of mindfulness is that by Mark Freeman, which is mind and body in the same place at the same time. Yeah. So often our body is somewhere and our mind is elsewhere. So if you're driving, drive. If you're cooking, cook. If you're kissing, kiss. Practice bringing the full focus of your awareness to the task that you're doing. It's not easy. It's harder than it sounds, but if you're doing something, do it and try and connect both mind and body in the process.
Yeah. And so, we're often, when we're at work, we're thinking about being at the gym. When we're at the gym, we're thinking about being in bed. When we're in bed, we're thinking about work.
Yeah.
And so it's very rare, isn't it, to have our mind and body in the same place? And
Absolutely.
The practice is trying to do that. So in mindfulness, what we do in order to try and help ourselves bring our awareness into the present moment is we try and find something to pay attention to that is in the now. And one of the most common things that we use for that is the breath. And there's going to be a day that we'll be looking at the breath and some breathing mindfulness exercises in a few days' time. But for now, just thinking about things that we can use to pay attention to. And we often use things that are in our 5 senses. And because if we're in our 5 senses world, then we tend to be in the present. If I'm listening to sounds, I can't be listening to the sounds that are coming in a few minutes or listening to the sounds that were being made a few minutes ago. If I'm paying attention to the sounds I'm hearing, then I'm in the present moment. Yeah. And that's why the breath is so wonderful, because we can't be with the next breath or the breath before. If we're paying attention to the breath coming in and out of the body, then we're in the present moment. So we often use one of these things as an anchor for the mind.
Yeah. Kind of reminds me of the Kung Fu Panda quote, the past is history, the future is a mystery, but today is a gift. That's why it's called the present. So there is something about, we spend so much of our time ruminating about the past and so much of our time forecasting the future. And we know that actually very little of our attention is on the present moment. And the present moment is actually the only bit that we have any control over. We can't control the past, we can't control the future, but we can control the now. And very often when practicing mindfulness skills, we use a more formal daily practice, such as meditation. And meditation is not about turning off thoughts and feelings. It's actually bringing some greater awareness to them, learning to observe them and notice them. And every time we do that, we do a bicep curl for our brain, and it really helps to strengthen sort of like the grey matter in our brain. In fact, it grows the grey matter in our brain, the bit that's responsible for self-awareness and for regulation, and it actually shrinks the part of our grey matter that is associated with stress. And that's if we can get into a daily routine of actually focusing on the present moment. And in actual fact, when we meditate, that's the only time in which those default mode networks in our brain, our amygdala and our fear systems, are actually turned off. Even when our mind wanders and we daydream, that amygdala is still functioning and still active when we do that. So meditation can be really fantastic for physical, mental and emotional reasons. So for mental, it aids our concentration and our focus. For physical, it can boost our immune system and help to lower our blood pressure, and emotionally help us to self-regulate and actually become more compassionate to ourselves and to others.
Yeah, there really is a huge body of evidence out there that mindfulness, paying attention to the present moment, is a really beneficial thing. There's lots of amazing studies out there showing this on brain scans and things. The thing I love about mindfulness and whether it's formal practice or informal is there is no kind of right or wrong. It's in most areas of life, we like to judge what we're doing, don't we? Our mind is very judgmental and we're always thinking, I'm doing this well or I'm doing it badly. And I know it's really hard to embark on practicing a skill that actually we can't really judge as whether we're doing it right or wrong. And so often people will say, when I'm rubbish at this, whenever I try and close my eyes and just be with my breath, my mind wanders, so I'm rubbish at it, I can't do it. The reality is that there is no good practice or bad practice. We'll like to feel it's good or bad, but actually the thing about mindfulness is it's just this practice, and that those moments where your mind pulls your awareness away from your breath or the sensations in your body, when you realise that your mind is not in the practice, this is the opportunity to practice. This is the magic moment in mindfulness. I've noticed that my mind was somewhere else. And in that moment, we get to choose, what am I going to do? Can I invite my awareness back to the next in-breath and follow that? If you do that, then you're doing that bicep curl. Okay. Now, it may be that your mind is
success.
Failure is success, exactly.
Yeah.
So in that moment where you've noticed, I'm not present, bring it back. And just doing that with kindness, with compassion, every time, okay, there we go, come back. And your mind will want to keep you going on that journey, and your job is just for those few minutes when you're practicing to let that go. So that's what I love about it.
Yeah, and tomorrow you're going to give people an opportunity to practice this in a body scan meditation, bringing the full focus of our awareness to different parts of our body, noticing how difficult it is to follow the instructions.
Yeah. And so, we'll do a long practice tomorrow, about 17-minute body scans. So I hope you'll join us for that. And between now and then, that's a more formal practice, is I want you to have a go at an informal practice. And what I mean by that is I want you to practice bringing your 5 senses awareness, see, hear, taste, touch, smell, to an everyday activity like brushing your teeth or making a cup of tea or having a shower or cleaning something that you might clean on a regular basis, and just see if you can do that, really noticing what you can see, hear, taste, touch, smell as you do it. Your mind is going to say, this is a bit boring, I'd rather be thinking about someone else, I want to put the music on, I want to distract myself, and your job is to be, rather than to do, to be in the present, that gift that is the present. Okay, so
fantastic.
Bring your pillows and your blankets and set up somewhere comfortable to lie, and I'll introduce you to the body scan tomorrow.
Brilliant. Look forward to it.
All right. Bye.
Bye.